Good morning, everyone, and welcome into another edition of WST Sunday Live. My name's Hrabchak. In a moment, I'll be joined by Lyss Houde. And today we're going to chat all things Winnipeg Jets, the week that they've had heading into the holiday break. And it's a game day edition of WST Sunday Live as they take on the Utah Mammoth today to close out not only their 3-game road trip, but their pre-holiday break schedule coming up here. And funny enough, and I'll get Lyss's thoughts on this, they are the only team in the entire National Hockey League that is off starting today. Every other team plays either Monday or Tuesday. Some teams play both. The Winnipeg Jets are the only ones that are going to get that extra rest for Monday and Tuesday going into the holiday break. So they wrap up their schedule today. Another Central Division opponent, another road game against the Utah Mammoth. Like I said, we're going to chat about the week that was. Was great to see the photos of everyone at Boston Pizza on Wednesday. As maybe Huss mentioned on the show, and I was texting Lyss that day, I felt so sick. So decided to stay home, but was very, very jealous of all of you that had a great time at Boston Pizza. The Jets didn't really do you any favors, but we'll have to look into January and hope we can do that again, and hopefully I can make it that time. But great to see all of those photos there Wednesday at Boston Pizza. And on today's show, we're going to get into trending up, down, burning questions, all of those things, and our Chud's Powersports Power Poll. The hockey has been dicey recently, so we're branching out, and our Chud's Powersports Power Poll is going to be Lyss and I's top 5 holiday treats, and I think the chat is really going to enjoy that. Put together our lists last night, so that'll be great. And shout out to Chud's. Again, the winter is fully here. If you weren't sure, I say that almost every Sunday, but the snow we got over the past couple of days, the Chud's family definitely fired up as it's definitely snowmobile season now. But great to see everyone here on this Sunday morning. And Lyss Houde, great to see you. How are you doing on this Sunday morning?
I'm great. It's what takes you 10 minutes to get me in here. I've been sitting just waiting.
I needed to explain my absence from Wednesday at BP, Lyss.
Yeah, you know what? That's one less person to have their name in the draw to win the jersey that I won. So I will take your absence in a heartbeat. But I'm doing well this morning. How are you?
I'm doing well. You go and look at the standings in the National Hockey League, and
I prefer
I'm not
not
doing
to,
well.
Personally.
I'm not doing well. Do we want to start there this morning?
Might as well. Yeah, let's jump right into it.
Rip the Band-Aid off. We were going to talk about Friday's game against the Avs, but they lost. It was a close game. Colorado's really good. The Jets aren't.
Follow for more.
We did a full post-game show, so if you want some more detailed thoughts, you can go check that out. But let me find the NHL hockey standings here. As last night, a few of the bottom feeders in the NHL picked up some wins, and the Winnipeg Jets find themselves tied for last place with the Nashville Predators and the Chicago Blackhawks, 32 points. They're the worst team in the NHL since the start of November. As we know, we've documented that throughout the past couple of weeks. I'm sure they're one of the worst teams in December as well. But Lyss, I mean, I've said this a few times on this show throughout the season, but if you told me, Mark Scheifele, Kyle Connor would be having career years or close to it with career highs, and Velarde and Hellebuck would be playing well, and Morrissey would be a lock for Team Canada and playing, very good hockey himself, I wouldn't have envisioned a scenario where they were in the spot that they're in, and that's tied for last in the entire National Hockey League.
I think the thing that's so strange about it is that I remember how many, I don't know if it's interviews or things that I would do last year where people would want one-hit shots on why are the Winnipeg Jets so good? Why are the Winnipeg Jets so good? That sort of stuff. And I feel like a huge part of what I would often talk about was the whole concept of the success by committee. Because at the end of the day, last year, if you had asked me if Winnipeg's top players, especially up front, could hang with every other team's top players, I was like, it's not setting them over the edge. Mark Scheifele isn't miles and miles better than the top center of every team they're going to run into in the playoffs and all that sort of stuff. But it was the depth. There was a little bit of push from every kind of line, and there was some really interesting parts of all of the different groupings that put out on the ice, different value propositions, different skill sets, and it entirely was success by committee. Yes, they had the Vezina goaltender behind them, backstopping them, right? And that's something that raises your floor significantly, as we've spoken about. But it wasn't Mark Scheifele is having one of the best years of his career. Kyle Connor just signed a massive extension and is, shooting the lights out, all this sort of stuff. And they were so much better. Well, obviously they're so much better. They quite literally could not have a larger margin between where they were at last year and where they're at this year.
No, 1 to 32nd.
And it literally doesn't get any different than that, right? So that's what's so baffling to me about it. And, we talked about this with Dimitri, and a huge thing that has been a huge part of kind of the discourse I've been a part of is I don't have a lot of time for the Nikolai Ehlers excuse, to be honest with you, because I think that at the end of the day, that was one guy. That is one guy. And I understand it's a good guy. But one guy, any one guy cannot move you from 1 to 32.
Yeah,
so there's a lot of things that kind of spilled into what I just said there, but I just think it's staggering knowing that such a big part of their success last year is quite literally their downfall this year.
100%. And look, I got the wild card standings up here. Utah Mammoth, first team out at 37 points, or tied for, but one more game played over the San Jose Sharks at 37 points. So the state of the league is very weird, where the Winnipeg Jets are tied for last, but they're also 5 points out of a playoff spot. But I think a great example of, people will look at that and say, oh, they're 5 points out of a playoff spot, so no big deal. But you go look in the East, you look at the Buffalo Sabres. The Buffalo Sabres are 7-3-0 in their last 10 and have won 5 straight games, and they have made zero push in the East. They're still, 5 points away, still 8th in the East. You want to know why? Because they have to leapfrog 7 different teams. It's just, you're in such a hole. Yes, you only have 5 points, and a couple wins will get you closer for sure, but it's a tough hill to climb, and you got to leapfrog all of these teams in the process, right? And Utah's one of those teams, so today's game, definitely an important one for the Winnipeg Jets if they want to get back into that playoff conversation and kind of salvage a terrible 2 months. You can't do that with one game. You'll have to do that with sustained success coming out of the break. But today's game against Utah, Central Division, again, if the Jets' goal is to, because the top 3 of the division is out of the question. They are, 17 points behind Minnesota for the 3 seed. So it's wild card or bust for this team if they're going to make the playoffs. And Utah's one of those teams vying for it. And we'll see what they're able to do today. Lyss, I think let's get into the Jets lines for today. They did practice yesterday in Utah, very snazzy new practice facility over there for the Mammoth as they, start a new franchise. And guess who gets the spin on the top line? Our guy, Gustav Nyquist. Our guy, Lyss. No, I'm kidding. Connor Scheifele Nyquist is the top line. Perfetti, Nemestikov, Velarde is the second line. Barron, Lowry, Iafallo, the third line. And then the fourth line, Niederreiter, Taves, and Pearson, with Cole Koepke being the extra. On defense, no changes to the top 4. Morrissey, DeMello, Sandberg, Pionk. And then the third pair, Stanley Miller, with Fleury and Shen being the extra pairing. And then we're expecting Connor Hellebuyck to get the start, unconfirmed, who knows, with it being the last game going into the break and all of those things. And these lines in and of itself are unconfirmed. It's just how they practiced yesterday. So we'll have to wait and see. I don't think they're having a morning skate. I think they're just going straight into the game. So we'll have to see with warm-ups if these lines that we saw in practice yesterday from Mitch Clinton and Mike McIntyre there on the road do hold for the game. What do you think, Lyss? Gustav Nyquist, top line Gustav Nyquist,
okay,
just as we all imagined.
I want to throw back to you first, though, and you don't have to give a full explanation. Just pulse check. How do you feel about these? Do you like these or no?
I've
it's
been
not that simple of an answer.
It's yes or no. I'd go yes to start, but that's what we're dealing with. Almost okay, I'll take it, I guess, but. I've been saying for weeks they need to split up Connor and Scheifele, and they still haven't. And
so I have multiple thoughts
about
all of these lines.
Gustav
And
Nyquist on
I
the top line
understand
is just objectively funny. He had a
it is
good game.
objectively funny.
He had a good game Friday against the Colorado Avalanche, with the slap pass to Mark Scheifele on the power play and made a few nice plays.
They saw that chemistry and said immediately,
you're
yes.
up.
20
You're
minutes
up.
a night. Get ready to learn it.
Yeah.
Yeah, no. I think that, look,
this is where I'm at.
I'm
At least
excited. Absolutely. And I'm excited about the perspective of that second line because I think that, look, and I'm about to make a crazy comparison that's so insane. But I remember last year in the playoffs, you're talking about, and I've given this example a couple times, but every single time Connor Hellebuyck had like a little bit of a rough game, which happened a lot when they were playing in St. Louis, the conversation around the community was always like, should Eric Comrie start next game kind of thing. And my opinion was always, will starting Eric Comrie in the next game give you a better chance of winning said game? Honestly, maybe. With how Connor Hellebuyck has been playing, whatever, how things are going with the team when Connor Hellebuck's in net, maybe. But the goal is to win a Stanley Cup. And you're not going to win a Stanley Cup with Eric Comrie starting games. You're going to shoot Connor Hellebuck's confidence. You're going to screw up the dynamics of the team. All these different things. It's not worth it. It's not worth it. Now, last game, Cole Perfetti. I'm not comparing Cole Perfetti to Connor Hellebuyck, but I'm about to. I think this team fully understands that they want to win. They're not giving up yet. The players, the coaching staff, like this is not throwing the white flag territory for them. They're not mentally there yet. And I think they know deep down that with how many players are not producing as well as they could, whatever, there are certain guys that you need to prioritize getting going more than others. This team right now, if they're going to start getting better, it has to be with guys like Cole Perfetti starting to do a little bit more. You're not going to do it without them. You're seeing what's happening with them not playing well. And so what you need to do is pick the guys who have the most potential to actually have an impact on this lineup. And I'm sorry, it's not a Tanner Pearson or whatever. So I think that putting a guy like Velarde with Perfetti to try and like prioritize just getting a little bit of something going there, like I like that. I like that a lot. And I think that puts Cole Perfetti in a little bit of a better position to succeed. Like he's been getting more flack than Vlad Namestnikov has, in my opinion. And we know how the Winnipeg Jets drive their offense. Everything lives and dies by the center of your line. And so you can oftentimes, if you feel like pinning blame on someone, if a winger is not doing well, oftentimes you're allowed to look at the center and see what the center is doing. That's just the nature of the beast with Winnipeg Jets hockey. So this isn't going to help in that regard, but I think that maybe adding something to get maybe both of those players going. No, it's not a center that's switching up for the two of them, but it's as high leverage of an addition to that lineup as you're going to get. So I think that that's a really interesting look. I don't know if it'll stick. I highly doubt it'll stick, but at least it's something, right? And at least it's something that I like more than some of the other options. It's not Tanner Pearson getting back on the second line, all these different things. And I like Lowry staying with Barron. I don't mind Nyquist as a secret third thing on the top line just for a
I'm quite
stretch.
Interested in how this is going to go.
Like, you know what? Whatever. Like, and I've, since he's come back from injury, and since he's come back from his healthy scratches, maybe we'll go back that far. Sure. It's not quite as long as back to his injury. I've been okay with him. And like, goals they could be luck based, and we know that Gustav Nyquist's shooting percentage has been in the doghouse since the last September, but I've actually been okay with some of what I've seen from him in the ozone, and like he's had a couple looks in the penalty kill that actually make me think there might be a little bit of juice there, whatever. So again, when your other options are Jonathan Toews and Tanner Pearson, whatever, like, okay, sure, give it a shot. I don't know. And if it doesn't work, break it up. I don't care, but at least it's something. I don't know.
Yeah, and the options that Scott Arniel is working with right now is just not at the level that it was last year. And last year, they were so consistent, so good up and down the lineup, all four lines, that he barely ever had to change his lines, as we know. And this year, like Ken Wiebe on Kenny and Rennie last game made the point of like, okay, Perfetti's benched in the third period of the Avs game. You look up and down the bench after the top line goes out there, and who do you tap on the shoulder? I mean, Morgan Barron had a nice shorthanded goal. Lowry isn't producing offensively when this is the situation of the game. You're trailing by a goal. Namestnikov hasn't scored in 23 games, I think it is now. Jonathan Toews has one secondary assist in 18 games. Iafallo has gotten some offensive production, but I guess you could throw him out there. And again, at the time, the top line was Connor, Scheifele, Velarde. So that kind of takes away all of the offensive threats there. They're spreading it out a little bit more. But I do think today's game list, as much as we want to sit here and say like, oh, none of this matters, season's over if you want to play like the doom and gloom game. I do think today's game is big for Cole Perfetti coming off the the benching in the third period of the Colorado Avalanche game. Got beat on the Natchez goal, took a penalty, a bad one against, it's Cale Makar, but still it's just kind of a ticky-tack, tripping far away from any kind of danger. And then steps onto the ice for the third period, coming out of the penalty box, skates to the bench, and that's the only ice he saw in the third period. I do think that today, with Velarde on his wing, it could be kind of a bigger game for Perfetti to get back on track because, as we know, he has not been great so far this season. He has one even strength goal. His goals have come against Calgary and Nashville, both on the road. And he's just, going into the road trip, he had 3 assists in his last 4 games. Maybe was heating up a little bit, but still nothing really happening there on this road trip for Cole Perfetti so far in the St. Louis game and then the Colorado game. And I think Scott O'Neill, we've talked, Lyss, about how we view that. There's the side of it of okay, what is happening with Perfetti has happened to 10 other guys so far this season and they haven't been benched. So why is Perfetti being benched? But I think we're at the point where hopefully going forward, that's the standard kind of thing. When guys aren't producing, they're taking bad penalties. They're just getting sat for periods because what else can Scott O'Neill do at this point? He's, filtered guys in and out of the lineup. He's changed up the lines. And as much as I can sit here and say I want them to break up Connor and Scheifele, they seem reluctant to do it. So he just needs to start benching guys for poor performance. I think that's kind of the next step in Scott O'Neill's kind of plan to get this team back on track, Lyss. I don't know what you think about that.
Yeah, and I guess the one thing I will say is that I understand how reputation based and all these different things the NHL is, where benching Jonathan Toews, short shifting Jonathan Toews is one thing, but actually benching Jonathan Toews, I think there's all these different levels of respect or whatever you want to call it. Some of the guys who are a little bit more established NHLers, like Alex Iafallo, Vlad Meskov, Nino Niederreiter, I don't think are going to be subject to that same level of, benching or what have you. But the other guys, they haven't been benched per se, but they've been scratched. Tanner Pearson's been scratched. Cole Koepke's been scratched. Gustav Nyquist has been scratched, right? So I think that there is a little bit of performance stuff, but we didn't even talk about the D pairings. I do think it is hilarious that Wednesday, I thought Luke Schenn played one of his better games of the entire season, and this is one of his first back-to-back scratches of the year as well. He'll sit out for a game pretty regularly.
It's Colorado and Utah, though, to be fair.
No, for sure. And getting Colin Miller in there, I think, is great, especially considering how Hayden Fleury looked in his first game back from injury on his offhand. Yes, it was the Colorado Avalanche, but I think that's one thing. And I said this on our post game, and I will keep saying it. It is just really ironic to be talking about oh yes, it's the Colorado Avalanche, all these different things, and kind of using these excuses and semantics that you do when you're a lottery level team and it's okay, this moral victory, whatever, but we're playing against the best team in the league, whatever, so it's okay. This group is still wanting to take themselves very, very seriously and still wanting to compete at the highest level. And after whatever game it would have been Ottawa on Monday, it's okay, just going to go have a good road trip with these 3 games. Okay, they drop it 0-3. This keeps happening. You keep having these sequence of games. Okay, I just got to do well in these sequence of games. At a certain point, it's what? For what? Okay, say they won this road trip and it was they went 3-0 and it's oh, sweet. Okay. And they come back and keep laying eggs in the new year. It's I don't know.
Yeah, the Washington game.
I'm not trying to sound bleak.
Our last episode, Sunday morning, coming out of the Washington game, we were talking about how that game could have either been the turning point or just a one game, what the hell happened that night. And it's looking more like the latter because, like you said, Lyss, this team will have one good game or one strong performance. And I'd even throw the Colorado Avalanche game kind of into that mix. Not quite the level of Washington. That was their best game of the season. But the Avs game, they hung with the Avs, moral victory, got no results, right? They got no points. But look, this team just can't string together 2 to 3 good performances in a row, back-to-back 60-minute efforts. And they haven't been able to do it for 2 months. And that's why they find themselves 32nd in the National Hockey League or tied for 32nd, I should say, to be accurate here on WST Sunday Live. But yeah, this team, and look, I even mentioned off the top of the show with Lyss, like Connor, Scheifele, Morrissey, these guys are having career years. Velarde, first year of a contract extension, he's playing great. It just kind of speaks to, and I'd even loop into that a little bit as well. Morgan Barron having 6 goals and Logan Stanley having 6 goals. Like there's those mini offensive breakouts happening. And then just everywhere else, it's been just a little bit worse. And Lyss has brought that up many, many times on our post-game reactions where, they're just not getting what they used to get from Cole Perfetti and Adam Lowry. And Nino Niederreiter's hot and cold, as he always is. And when the team is really good, that's fine. But in these cold stretches, it kind of gets magnified. And Alex Iafallo, offensive producing, he's not really a 25-goal guy, so he'll be a good forechecker. But then when he fishes the puck out and passes it to a guy in the slot, who is that guy receiving the puck? They're not Kyle Connor. Well, sometimes it has been because Iafallo's been on the top line. But just the bottom 9 even has a mini breakout happening in Morgan Barron with 6 goals, some of them being shorthanded. But it's still just not enough. It's still just not good enough, Lyss. And today's game against the Utah Mammoth is going to be another example where, let me bring up Utah's lines. Like, they don't have Logan Cooley right now. They're missing their top line center. Their superstar center they just signed for 8 years, $10 million, whatever the final contract was. And here's their lines. Keller, Schmaltz, Paterka, Krause, Hayton, Gunther, Butt, McBain, Carcone? How do you pronounce that, Lyss? Do you know?
I
O'Brien,
no
Stenlin, Kerfoot is the 4th line. Sergachev, Dursey, Schmidt, Marino. Top 4 Nate Schmidt, by the way, is what the Winnipeg Jets are facing today. Ian Cole, and then Desimoni. And then it's Vemelka, Vanacek in net. We're not sure who's starting for the Utah Mammoth today quite yet.
Oh, if they know their history with the Winnipeg Jets, it should be
They know who to start. They know who to start. But yeah, like, I don't even know. Is there anything that could... Here, let me propose this to you, Lyss. Is there anything that could happen in today's game that could send you into the break and going into their next game Saturday against the Minnesota Wild thinking any differently about this team?
No, because I've talked about this with lots of people before where, I'm so not fun when it comes to talking about, I don't know, different teams and different things where I don't have a good sweeping take on anything. I'm very like mushy middle and so much stuff. And, going into a game against Colorado, someone's like, oh, like, how would you feel if the Jets kicked them 8-0 tonight? I'd be like, I don't know.
Well, that would be a little different than if they beat Utah 8-0 tonight.
No,
I think.
because I disagree,
so.
Connor.
Colorado's
because if they go and
games.
lose, I know, but then if they go and lose the next 4 games, it's like, that changed nothing. So, like, one game does not change my opinion on anything ever. Like, it's just such a small sample, and so many factors can be at play. And like that Washington one, and something that just drives me crazy about that game and that performance is that I know that it was Nino Niederreiter's thousands game and the reigning Hart Trophy winners return from injury. So it's like they really pulled themselves up by the bootstraps to win this one. And like, where's that effort? And I don't know if effort's the right word because you've talked about this. It's not like they look like they're trying. I get all that sort of stuff. But like, where is that willpower, I guess maybe is a better word to use, when clearly you need those wins right now. And like I said, like you kind of said, if they were to, take this game, circle it, and it's like, all right, this is a game that we are going to, use as motivation. This is going to be a game that we're going to use to set off on the right tone going into the holiday break, whatever. Do they have the willpower to do that? And I don't know if they do, because you'd think at this point they would have selected a couple games at this point. It's like, we got to win these. You know what I mean? Yeah.
And the St. Louis game to me was, well, okay, backing up to the middle of December, Ken Wiebe wrote a very good article at the Free Press about how that 4-game homestand against Dallas, Boston, the Washington game, and then Ottawa was kind of entering must-win territory. And not must-win in terms of they needed to go 4-0 on the homestand, but like 3-1 or 2-1-1. And the way that they found a way to lose against Ottawa in the final game, that would have been 2-2, could have salvaged it a little bit. And then the St. Louis game, if we're going back to this week and just talking about the week in general, the St. Louis game, I talked about the Washington game being maybe the turning point. The St. Louis game might have been the dagger, Liz. You get shut out by the Blues. Like, come on. And that was really ugly. And then great. They put together a better effort against the Colorado Avalanche, and we can sit here and say that if they put the effort they did against the Avs against the St. Louis Blues, they probably win that game. But that means nothing because, like we've been saying on this show, this team is just so different game to game. And I gotta say, Liz, it makes our job pretty tough. Like, I don't know what to expect tonight. I don't. Well, I could see them win 5-1 and lose 5-1. Dead serious.
Oh, yeah, no, for sure. I agree. And I think the thing that is just so hard, and I kind of brought this up earlier, it's just so frustrating. Like, not frustrating, but, like, it's kind of exhausting, like, sitting here and being like, okay, like, what needs to happen in order to win this game? You talk about the opponent, talk about this, that, whatever, and then they lose the game. And then you go back to the next game and you do the same thing again. And it's like, okay, at a certain point, like, they literally have more losses than they do wins right now. Like, are we going to be sitting here in game 81 where they're the 31st team in the National Hockey League being like, okay, how do they win this game? It's like, I know that that's not what's happening exactly right now because there's still so much ground that teams can cover going up or down in the standings. But do you know what I mean? That it just, like, it feels kind of weird. It's like, at what point, and I've talked about this, hear me out. Crazy analogy here, but something I was talking to a couple people about, I think you might have been one of them, the other day, was the whole idea of, sports are built on moments. We become sports fans because of moments. And I was talking to someone about how, like, if you're a Jets fan, I don't know if you trade the Cole Perfetti game tying goal in game 7 against the St. Louis Blues for almost anything in the world. If you could go 1-1 for a Stanley Cup, obviously you lean with the latter, but you can't predict those sorts of things. I don't know if you give that up for very much because those are the moments that are so special. And I was saying you could go all the way to a Stanley Cup without ever having a moment, because if you win every series in 5 or 6 games and every single one of those games is by a couple of goals, there's never a moment where you get to have that, like, ecstatic celebration based on a specific play on the ice. Yeah, you have it post game or whatever, but that specific moment of a thing that you see and you react to is just so unique and so special to sports. And anyways, where I'm going with this is that you can win a Stanley Cup without ever having a moment where it's like, by God, we won the Stanley Cup. Because if you're up 3-2 in games and it's game 6 and you're winning 6-1 going into the third period, there's never a moment I know it's until the buzzer drops, but okay, if there's 1 minute left and you're up by 5 goals, you're winning the Stanley Cup. There's never a moment where every single person collectively that's a part of this game, whether you're on the team, watching it, whatever, says this team won the Stanley Cup. Everyone has different barometers. And I feel like that's where we're going to be kind of with this team in terms of, like, missing the playoffs and, like, it being a throwaway season, because a lot of people are not there yet. A lot of people have been there since the beginning of November. And it's just really weird to have such differing perspectives and, like, levels of confidence or doubt or belief or whatever in this group right now. And I don't know if that's ever going to get, like, rectified until it's game 82. And either if they win their last game, they get into the playoffs. If they lose, they don't. That's the only way we're ever going to kind of all be on the same page about them. You know what I mean?
Yeah. No, I get it. And look, Huss was doing the math earlier in the week going into this road trip and coming out of the road trip. The math is worse on what this team needs to do to get to, say, 95 points. I know the threshold is a little bit lower in terms of like the playoff line in the West so far this season, but Huss was saying going into the road trip, 30-17-3 was the record the Winnipeg Jets were going to need to go in their final 50 games to hit 95 points. Well, they've already dropped 2 regulation games from that with St. Louis and Colorado. So now it's 30-15-3 over their last 48 games to hit 95 points, which would presumably give you the privilege of playing the Colorado Avalanche in the first round and being a nice little tune-up for Nathan MacKinnon to when he goes on and plays the winner of Dallas and Minnesota, right? Like, I just say they go on a run and they win 30 of their final 48 games. That'd be awesome. You're just playing Colorado, or you're just playing, I guess you're gunning for that number 1 wild card where maybe it's Vegas, maybe it's Edmonton at this point, maybe it's Anaheim, LA, the Pacific is really bunched up. But this is what they have working against them, List, to go 30-15-3, the 7th hardest remaining schedule per tankathon, where their strength of schedule remaining is their points percentage of all the teams combined, 575. They play the Avs 3 more times. They play Dallas twice. They play Minnesota twice, Vegas 3 more times, Anaheim twice. So it's not an easy schedule going forward for the Winnipeg Jets. That was the easy part of their schedule. St. Louis, for example, was the easy part of their schedule. And they've
they've had a decently easy schedule, to be honest.
They've just burned too many games like that. They just have.
Yeah, and I think where I kind of fall is I hate just get in mentality for the playoffs. I hate it so much because I think that so many people, will talk about teams and be like, well, Florida just got in and all these different things. I understand the mindset of just get in, but it's not equally applicable to every single team. The Winnipeg Jets, the 2025-26 Winnipeg Jets have not earned the confidence to just talk about just getting in, right? You have the former, conference finalists or whoever, these different teams. There are certain teams that have all of these different horses and tools and things that make them look really promising. Those teams are allowed to just get into the lottery at this point, because just getting into the playoffs is this is not a group that I take seriously in the just get in conversation.
There's not a 2019 St. Louis Blues run coming, you don't think?
But if there was, then you would get into just get in territory where you could be like, okay, cool, whatever. But as it stands right now, people are just saying that because people are just saying that. I don't know if anyone's saying it, but if you are saying just get in, yeah, and you idiot, not if that is the mindset that you have and that's how you kind of perceive this group, I think you're going to be sorely disappointed when they actually do, in fact, just get in, because it fully is within the realm of possibility when you have a heart-winning goaltender and the Central Division looks the way that it does. You're going to get, let's be real, 2 games worth of ticket revenue, and then Bob's your uncle, that's it, good night, see you in September, because it's just this group doesn't have the horses right now to create a just get in storyline that's going to be compelling enough to make a push here.
And I see people in chat saying, anything can happen in the playoffs. That's the just get in mentality. Anything can happen, and anything can happen. I have time for that, but let me ask you this: do you have confidence in playoff Connor Hellebuyck stealing a series against the Colorado Avalanche?
So here's the thing, though, and I agree with you that anything can happen, but there are way too many variables that are clicking for a team like the Colorado Avalanche and that aren't clicking for the team like the Winnipeg Jets. Say Nathan McKinnon goes down for the Colorado Avalanche or whatever. Okay, they still have Cale Makar. They still have their penalty kill. They still have all these different things in the depth of their lineup. They still have goaltending that's actually doing well for them right now, and 2 goaltenders who are playing really well and can swap in and out as needed. They have all of these things where when you talk about anything can happen, you need, in this situation, 8 things to go right for the Winnipeg Jets that also go wrong for the Winnipeg Jets. Anything can happen applies to 2 teams that are kind of neck and neck, whatever, and 1 or 2 things kind of goes crazy or awry at a moment. You want to talk about anything can happen, Game 7, Winnipeg Jets versus St. Louis Blues. There was a lot that was going right and a lot that was going wrong for the St. Louis Blues kind of in the back half of that game, and all these different things that led to that moment having the possibility to come to fruition. I don't think the Jets are even going to get to a point where it would matter enough if, all of a sudden the Colorado Avalanche power play is shooting 0%. I think there are too many other things that are going well for that team and too many other things that would have to go well for the Winnipeg Jets in response to that in order for anything to happen to actually apply to a matchup that's as far apart right now as these 2 teams are.
Yeah. And I do think the next time the Winnipeg Jets make it to the playoffs, whether they find lightning in a bottle this year or it's next year or whenever, I think Connor Hellebuyck will be much better than he was last year. I'll put that on the record right now. But at the same time, I see some people saying, with the current lineup construction, no, that won't happen in terms of the Jets going in and beating Colorado. And then you also get to the point list where, the Jets are in a weird spot where they view themselves as kind of win now in this window, as kind of they should, I think, in my opinion, at least, going into this season sort of thing, because they had Hellebuyck, Scheifele, all these players 30 years old or above, Morrissey. They just signed Kyle Connor to a long extension. They have the thought of, we're trying to win right now because Connor Hellebuck's in his prime. I get that line of thinking. And you can't trade your first round pick right now to help you win right now because you are tied for last in the National Hockey League. So then you hear the rumors of them being in on guys like Mason Marchment, who went for a 2nd and a 4th. Well, the Jets don't have their 2nd for this year or next year because they traded them for Brandon Tanev and Luke Schenn. They just don't. They're in a weird spot where you're not trading picks or assets really, because next year you're going to want Braden Yeager and Elias Salamonson to be in the lineup, are you not? Like, you're going to be counting on those guys for NHL minutes list. I know, like, Salamonson for sure. I think with the fact that Miller's a UFA and Shen is a pending UFA, like, I think Salamonson is a lock for opening night next season, and he might play like a lot this season as well, a lot to come. But there's guys like Brad Lambert will be 23 next year. He's 21 right now, will be 22 or 23. Braden Yeager's 21. He'll be 22. He'll be another year, full year of AHL under his belt. Like, it'll be time to, and I know the Jets and the common sentiment is that they overripe their prospects and leave them in the minors too long. But like, for some of these guys like Salamonson and Yeager and Lambert, it's going to be time. And Chibrikov, either they can hang or they can't. You know, like, next season is going to be that season. So they're in a weird spot where, like, okay, do you want to trade Braden Yeager for someone when you're probably counting on him next season, when this is already kind of a lost season? You know, like, I don't know how they're viewing this organizationally. I know Mike tweeted that Mark Chipman was in attendance for that Colorado game. He doesn't usually travel with the team, or he doesn't all the time, but he did for that Colorado game. How's he viewing this? How's Kevin Cheveldayoff viewing this? They have a lot of pending unrestricted free agents. When do they start selling? Do they start selling? Do they sell? I don't know. There's a lot of questions to be had still over the final however many 48 games.
Yeah, I think that's really hard too with this group is that, like, look, last year they overperformed. So what you do when you overperform is you're like, oh, sweet. What do we do to try and shape this team up to make a push this year? This year they're underperforming. And last year, a team that underperformed was the New Jersey Devils. And the New Jersey Devils underperformed because they have a really good player who apparently is actually at optional skate this morning. So congratulations to Jack Hughes on his return from his gruesome kitchen injury.
No more food. No more metal
no more
cutlery.
Restaurants for you. But I think that like a team like that last year, you know, they lose their number one center, and it's again similar kind of mentality to the Connor Hellebuyck thing, where it's like, okay, look, they're not a bad team and they have some holes, but they're doing okay. They weren't going to win the Stanley Cup with Jack Hughes, and so what they did is they kind of like soft sold and all these different things. Yeah, they got into the playoffs, but it was what it was. They weren't banking on last year being their year. But what you can do is kind of like take a quick step back, and now they're kind of all at it again this year, trying again. I like that mentality. It makes sense. It works. But what's really different about someone like the New Jersey Devils and the Winnipeg Jets in that regard is that there's only so many years that the Winnipeg Jets can keep doing this. Don't get me wrong. Right now, I am in the camp of, like, you know, if I have to lean on lost season or not lost season, I'm sorry, but I'm kind of putting my bets a little bit more on the former. But say that happens again next year, and you're like, okay, like, you know, things are going tough, or, you know, Mark Scheifele gets hurt or something like that.
You know, what just happened to Quinn Hughes will happen to Josh Morrissey. If it's happening again next year.
Why would you say something like that? That's insane. Okay.
Yeah, exactly.
Anyways.
Like, that's the pressure they're facing.
Well, no, I know. And that's actually something too. I can't remember who it was. Someone in the chat earlier was just mentioning something about the core and this, that, whatever. And an off-season kind of topic that I had, and it wasn't even an off-season topic. It was going into the playoffs and an off-season topic of, it's like, if the Winnipeg Jets lose in the first round again, you have to trade one or two of Josh Morrissey, Kyle Connor, Mark Scheifele, Connor Hellebuyck, whatever, these big pieces. You have to, because that's 3 years in a row of just absolutely defeating first round losses to 3 different teams, you know, all this different stuff. Like, it would have been absolutely, like, you would have had to have done something, because it's so evident that these horses that they currently have are not good enough. All they needed was to get out of the first round in order to instill some level of belief. And I think many people to think that maybe they can, you know, double down on this group and keep going and keep building from there. If that goal doesn't go in at the end, and I understand that if, you know, my grandma had wheels,
hockey games are 60 minutes, Liz.
The hockey games are 60 minutes. I get that. If that goal doesn't go in, though, and then they end up losing that game and all these things blow up, again, I'm not saying I trade that for the world, because that's a really important moment that kind of unites a fan base and is so special. But, like, that's how fragile things were at this time. Even with the President's Trophy winning group, the question was always, what happens when it actually matters? And I just think there have been so many high leverage moments in the last couple of years that the team hasn't quite been up to the task. And that sounds, and I'm not trying to pin that blame on anyone. I'm not saying that, like, they're not physically good enough. They're not mentally tough enough or anything like that. I don't know what it is, but I'm
Mhm.
just saying that I think that it's been a really, really interesting couple of years. And I think that you don't have a lot of that luxury of time on your side when all of your core players are on the wrong side of 27.
Right.
Like, I think it makes it really difficult to keep having these years of deferring your window, because you can't do that with how old
And
these players are getting to be at this point.
totally. And I'm not like, I bring that up just to say, if the Winnipeg Jets are 32nd in the league the next 3 years, like the Vancouver Canucks were, like Josh Morrissey's a competitor. He's going to be on Team Canada. He's not going to want to do that, and I'm not saying he's leaving. I'm not saying that either. Like, Josh Morrissey loves it here.
You just heard it here first, folks.
Yeah, breaking news. No, I'm not saying he's leaving. Like, he's absolutely
No,
entrenched
I know
in the
what you
community.
mean. I know
loves
exactly
it
what
here.
you mean.
Yeah, like, if the Jets are good next year, he will absolutely re-sign for the next 7 or 8 years. Like, he loves it here. And he's a part of that core, the drafted and developed guys. Like, I'm not saying that, but if the Jets are terrible, this is the pressure they're facing, Liz. And I kind of bring that up in the conversation of, like, how do Chipman and Cheveldayoff feel about this? Because you want to help this team win now. You want to keep guys like Josh Morrissey happy and winning. And Connor Hellebuck and Mark Scheifele signed up for 7 years with the commitment to win and have a competitor every year. What are they thinking about this? All of those things. So it's very, very interesting. But this has been a kind of a negative conversation so far. But leave it up to T. Konopoli to save the day, Liz. Look at this.
Connor, you have to yell it. Jets have trouble attracting
because of the all caps. Yeah. No, T. Konopoli, thank you so much for the $20 super chat. Says Jets have trouble attracting free agents, and no trade clauses make it tough to acquire super skilled players. Their best ways through the draft. This is a blessing in disguise. Embrace the free fall and get a top 3 pick. Merry Christmas. Merry Christmas to you, T. Konopoli, and Merry Christmas to everyone, and happy holidays in the chat as well. Again, the Winnipeg Jets maybe won't be as big of a talking point, or maybe just as big of a talking point around your Christmas dinners this week. Last year they were first in the NHL. This year they're tied for last. I think equally big conversation list of last year, like, wow, the Winnipeg Jets, and now this year, wow, the Winnipeg Jets.
I'm gonna need to put together a couple of cue cards of main talking points for every single, I had a family dinner last night, got a family dinner tonight, got a bunch next week, all this sort of stuff, and I need to have my points, because as you're familiar, I am not the most short-winded person in the world, and so I will talk for hours on end. If someone's like, oh, why are the Winnipeg Jets bad? It's like, do you want a PowerPoint? Do you want an Excel sheet? What's the vibe here? Would you like a monologue? Do you want this to be an open discussion? But no, it's a very, very different time to be in. And look, I'm not times are strange, Connor. Times are strange. Definitely. I'm not upset. I'm not feeling defeated. I'm not feeling whatever. I'm not feeling anything overly negative about this group, this team, where we're at right now. It's not a big deal. Things happen, teams go through these phases and all this sort of stuff. But the question is just always around, what's the response going to be? What's the decision making going to be? This is something that Thomas Drance made a really interesting point on Twitter earlier, kind of this week. And this is my kind of paraphrasing version of his tweet, but he was talking about rebuilds. And I think that if the Jets were to go the rebuild route, everyone's going to freak out for a second, because it's not going to happen though. But listen to me.
And you can't with Connor Hellebuck in his prime. You can't rebuild.
You can't with Connor Hellebuck in his prime, but I think a legitimate rebuild, maybe more on the rebuild side, but a rebuilding retool, if you will. It doesn't take as long as people often think it does, because oftentimes when we look back at teams that rebuild, we look at their entire quote unquote bad window in the same vein, where usually what actually happens is a team is bad by accident for a couple of seasons, then they finally throw in the white towel and are bad on purpose for a couple of seasons and then come out of it. Say that's 5 or 6 full seasons in a row. Mm-hmm. If you just make the decision early and you kind of cut it off, whatever, that's actually only a 3-season rebuild. Rebuilds don't take 6 seasons. What happens is if you're stubborn for a few years and then you actually buy into it, you kind of end up on the other side. But if you actually were to kind of set out a plan and say, we're not making March trade deadline acquisitions for the next 2 seasons because we're going to retool all of these different pieces, even if we have a Calgary Flames run of 10-4-1 right now. If this is a Calgary Flames record, we're not, it's okay, good for the team, ethical tank, if you will, but if you have this kind of like vision for the group, I think you could fix this lineup up and rejig it pretty well in just 2 seasons. But again, the thing that's really hard is you're totally right. While you have these players, I think it makes it really, really difficult, especially if you want to extend Josh Morrissey, especially if you want to win while Connor Hellebuyck is still at his best. That's why I think the position the Jets are in right now is kind of scary in that regard. But I think there are options. So my question and my interest is always just around what do they do? Because I am hoping it's something. And if the team goes all in and all of a sudden starts like trading all this stuff and buying all these like wacky players and stuff, like I'm sat for it, like, I'm not saying buying the Mason Marchments of the world, but if you start packaging up some of your best prospects to bring in the Quinn Hughes of the world, whatever, okay, let's talk about it. Like I'm here for something because it's so very evident that this iteration of the team, and I'm not trying to rope in my shotties, the Manitoba Moose, but like none of them are going to come in and fix this team. So there has to be either some massive external replacements, in my opinion, or you do a little bit of a rejig that could take, 18-month rejig or whatever, sort of something like that. But I just don't think that 6-year rebuild is something that should even be within the realm of possibility, because the only reason it would be a 6-year rebuild would be if the Winnipeg Jets, kick the can down the road for the next 3 seasons and then their hand is forced into a rebuild and then it takes 3 years to get out of it.
Sure, but like they still have really good players. I don't know. Like the retool just seems so obvious to me.
But here's the thing, Connor, is that like, and this is a conversation that so many people have had, and I do really fall into this camp. Retools don't really work.
Washington Capitals.
Okay, but here's the thing. The Washington Capitals are the example that everyone gives. Every single move that the Washington Capitals made last offseason, well, not 6 months ago, but this is season before that, every single one of them hit. If one of those doesn't hit, which
the Jets
is
don't
much,
need
much more
every single
likely,
one of them to hit. They have Connor
clearly
Scheifele.
They do. Look at all these things that aren't working right now.
Yeah, no, they have 3 players playing at the best level of their career on their top line, a Norris level defenseman and a Hart Trophy level goaltender. They don't need everything to hit. They need a goal or two from the bottom 9 list.
Okay, but what happens if one of those players takes a step back? What happens if Connor Hellebuyck takes a tiny step back? All these things
Hopefully
are contingent upon all of these external
forward.
moves hitting. Yeah, there's so many. If every single one of these players keeps continuing to play at a career high level, if they make a bunch of external moves that work out really, really well for them when the last external moves that they've made have all been terrible, like all these different things, like it's so high risk, high reward. And the Washington Capitals, I feel like, reset so many people's expectation of what it means to completely reshift in the middle of your window or whatever you call it, your lineup like that, because somehow every single one of them worked. Chychrun worked, Dubois worked, Logan Thompson and this whole Darcy Kemper situation, that worked. Every single thing that they did worked. Connor McMichael and Dylan Strome, nobody saw that coming. And so I think that really screws with people's perception of how likely that is to repeat and how easy it is to replicate. I don't see a world in which that it happens with how many variables would need to continue to punch at the level they are right now. If even one of those moves doesn't work and some of these players take a step back, it doesn't do anything for me.
Interesting. Because you raised some great points, but we sit here today and they're 32nd in the NHL. I still don't view them as the worst team in the NHL. They have so many good players that I just feel like the retool route, and what Brent brings up here in the chat about how they should have been developing their draft picks. Now they're paying for it. I think this is the biggest thing stopping them from retooling is the fact that, okay, you want to move Brad Lambert? Who wants him? What are you getting for him? What are you getting for him? Because here's the thing, Liz. The Winnipeg Jets are in such a weird spot that they don't trust any of their prospects to come in and help maybe the most ineffective bottom 9 in the league, but also they don't have enough value long-term to trade them for someone to come in and help them right now for a team that's winning right now. So
yeah, the last 5 years of development of young players is like, we need a WST Sunday special of 8 hours to really talk about that. And
let me bring up our good buddy Murat Atesh's tweet, because he tweeted the other day about how like Cole Perfetti is one of 3 players in the last decade that has made the team or is on the team right now in terms of draft picks. That was. Let me go back and find this. Maybe I'm just.
Well, it was a Michael Remus tweet that was a screenshot of
yes.
Murat's article. Is that what you're thinking of?
Yes.
I don't remember exactly what it is verbatim, so I'll sing the Jeopardy music while you pull it up. But it was damning, whatever it was. Do you want me to actually sing?
Here we go. Yes. So it was from Murat's article in The Athletic. Go check it out. Here's Michael Remus kind of screen grabbed a paragraph from it and said, what a paragraph, and what a paragraph it is. Murat wrote, the Jets haven't drafted inside the top 10 since a lottery win led to Patrick Laine in 2016, as we all remember. Cole Perfetti was taken with the number 10 pick in 2020, has the 10th most points in his draft class, but he's one of just 3 Jets picks from the last 10 drafts on Winnipeg's roster right now. And when you go back and look, what is that? Stanley, Samberg, Perfetti? If we're counting 2016?
In the top.
No, at all.
Dude, the only player they drafted?
Samberg, Perfetti, and, well, Stanley was 2016. I'm assuming Murat's including that. But, again, like, they have so many misses in their list. Vesalainen, Heinola, Lucius had to retire from hockey, unfortunately. I'm not, like, pinning it. He's not a bad hockey player, but, like, that just didn't work out. And then the recent ones, McGroarty, they had to move for Yager, who's not ready yet. Lambert, not ready yet. Barlow, struggling in the AHL.
Well, and that's the whole thing with everyone, talking about how old the Winnipeg Jets team is and stuff like that. Like, even a couple players bringing down the average, like, I know that the cap is going to be a little bit of a different conversation kind of going forward and whatever, but a huge part of a lot of teams that have had so much success over the last few years is also the cap efficiency of ELC players getting plugged in on lineups and
that's why the 2017 team was so good. They had Laine, Ehlers, all those guys on ELCs, and
Kyle Connor was on his ELC.
Kyle Connor was on his ELC. Like, the Jets also can't afford to be bad at drafting. Like, that's just the state of their franchise. Like, they're the smallest market in the league. The only UFAs they're attracting are the ones that we're talking about here every single Sunday as being, like, not working in the bottom 6.
Right. And you think about the 3 players that, the Jets have on their lineup right now that they've drafted in the last 10 years. And if you talk about Logan Stanley took 8.5, 9 years to become a regular on this team. Right. And Dylan Samberg, don't get me wrong, great player, all these different things. They got extremely lucky with that player. When that player was drafted, I don't think anyone was expecting him to kind of have this this level to his game that he's had, and that's wonderful. Right. And that's what you do when you draft later in the draft, is you try and find these guys that you're like, if this hits, this is gonna bang, because that's what they did here, and it's great. Don't get me wrong. Cole Perfetti also fell into their lap and was drafted as a center and has played wing his entire NHL career and hasn't been super great in the last little bit. Like, even the 3 that they have, like, that's not exactly a recipe for success either. And yeah, like you said, kind of looking down into the Manitoba Moose system, like, it's bleak in terms of, future NHL impact players. Like, there's a lot of guys on that team I really, really like. Heck, I'm going to go down to the Canada Life Center after this and go watch them play some hockey before the holiday break. And I'd like to see you all there because we love the Manitoba Moose. However, like, it's not looking like, oh my gosh, can't wait for these guys to play on the Manitoba Moose, or pardon me, to play on the Winnipeg Jets. A lot of them, I don't know if they ever will. And so it's a really challenging time, I think, to be in, and that just, it adds fuel to this fire of us talking about, their core is a little bit too old to want to rejig things in a way that takes years instead of months and all this different stuff. They're in a really weird position. They're in a really, really, really weird position, and a lot of it is self-inflicted, and I don't think it's I'm not saying it's a bad position, but it's weird. It is weird, and I think there's a lot of really strange moving parts here.
Yeah, for sure. And we should wrap this conversation, as Dallas brings up, are we going OT today? Still haven't done your normal hits or segments yet. We're going to get to our Chud's Powersports Powerful in just a second. But inside baseball, Liz and I were talking last night, thinking, like, what are we going to talk about? Are we going to be able to fill an hour? We just filled an hour without even doing any of our segments. So
I can't with us.
Welcome to WST Sunday Live. This is classic stuff, folks. This is what you come here for on a Sunday morning.
But we're so glad you're all here. We really are. Like,
yeah,
it's so much fun. We have a blast
awesome
with it.
Today.
And I love kind of reading the comments, and I'm like, and another thought, and all these different things, because you guys always have such interesting comments and things to contribute.
Absolutely.
To it. So much fun.
Yeah, the chat at 9 a.m. I've always said they're firing. They're ready to go at 9 a.m. And going into the holiday season, they are fired up for sure on this Winnipeg Jets team. And some people, still bringing the positivity, the optimism, thinking, or claiming today's game is a big game. Utah's right there. It is. If they want to make playoffs,
let's do it. Yeah.
Let's do it. Big game. Must win. Must win.
Must win. Can't lose.
Must win. Can't lose. All of the above. Gotta have it today. Going into the holiday break, Jets take on the Mammoth today. 6:00 puck drop. Down there in Utah. Let's get to our first segment of 3. Thank you, Dallas, for keeping us on schedule today. Really appreciate it. Our first one is going to be from our friends at Chud's Powersports. Now, the plows are out because the snow, I think it was 35 centimeters over the 2 days, I think. Maybe it was 30. There was so much snow here in the city and so much snow up in Gimli, where Chud's Powersports is located, up at the corner of Highway 8 and 231. And they've got you covered with everything for the winter season. It is officially snowmobile season. And it is well underway with all of this snow. They've got great deals on all of these Arctic Cats, snowmobiles, RVs, ice houses, boats, UTVs, dirt bikes, tractors, golf carts. They have so much over there at Chud's Powersports. A ton of items on clearance, as you see right behind me here. And they've been serving Manitobans for over 80 years. So you're getting the best possible customer service you could possibly get up there at Chud's. And if you can't make it up there to the corner of Highway 8 and 231, check them out online, chudspowersports.com, that I've got up on the screen behind me here. Tons of clearance items on the website, and a large selection of everything you need power sports related for the winter season. And check out their other site as well, truenorthparts.ca, where they have a ton of items on clearance, kind of adjacent to all of their big power sports items that they have at chudspowersports.com. I've browsed, and there's a lot of interesting stuff there as well at truenorthparts.ca. But check them out, Highway 8 and 231, chudspowersports.com, your home for power sports right here in the province of Manitoba. And we have a banger of a Chud's Powersports Power Poll today. Thank you to Chud's for sponsoring our Power Polls. I think this is the Chud's Powersports Power Poll. Putting emphasis on the, because this is the one. This is the one, folks. We're done with hockey. We're done with hockey. We're done. We're leaving it in the rearview mirror. We're on to the holiday break. What are our top 5 holiday treats, holiday snacks, whatever you want to call it, Christmas, baking, all of those things? Here's what we put together. I've got peppermint bark at number 1, Nanaimo bars at number 2, After Eights at number 3, gingerbread cookies at 4, and pumpkin pie number 5. Lyss has After Eights at 1, Christmas crack at 2, sugar cookies at 3, Lindor chocolates at 4, and ginger snaps at 5. Now, I'm sure the chat is going to have a lot of opinions on what their favorite holiday treat is, but Lyss, explain your Chud's Powersports Power Poll.
Okay, well, first of all, it looks like this is a safe space for mint chocolate enjoyers. So I respect
I have
that.
After
I
Eight
feel like
takes.
that's
I have takes.
a bit of a little bit of a soft spot. It's mint chocolate and pineapple on pizza that people always seem to have really strong opinions on and stuff. But this was actually hard for me. I was like, I couldn't even think of like all of the options and all this
There's
sort of
so
stuff.
many.
Like, what do I snack on like crazy during the holidays, or like when there's a spread out? I had a family dinner last night, and I actually was like taking recon of like, what am I going to reach for here? And then I like wrote it down. I was thinking, I was like, I really like, my roommate made some Christmas crack, and that made me think of that.
Nice.
And then I reached for a Lindor chocolate yesterday, and I was like, okay, must be that. Looks like people are in agreement with some of my takes.
Yeah, you're getting the win here, I think.
Okay. I just think, here's my thing. Of all the things on here, the one that I find the craziest,
for
gingerbread cookies. Gingerbread cookies is a bit of a hot take to me. I thought people really just use gingerbread cookies a little more decorative. They're fun, they're festive, they're in the season. But I don't know if anyone
I think that plays
I've ever
into
met
it, though.
anyone
That plays into it, like the activity aspect.
Like when you make a gingerbread house, do you eat that thing and
No.
I'm so happy to be eating this right now.
No, I don't eat the gingerbread house. I eat the cookie.
But I think it's also like a bad gingerbread cookie is like bad, whereas like if you make a bad chocolate chip cookie, it's like, hey, you know what, it is what it is. But so maybe I just haven't had good gingerbread cookies.
I load it up
before.
with icing. It's a fun activity. Decorate it. You throw some crazy things on there too. You throw some M&Ms, stick them on there.
Okay.
I think it's on the list for me. And then I saw a comment. Pumpkin pie is a Christmas thing. It is
Nanaimo bars being a Christmas thing, I just feel like that's like a random dessert. I don't know if it's like a tradition for you
Well,
or something like that.
okay,
But
my family has pumpkin pie and Nanaimo bars over Christmas quite a
okay,
bit.
I love that for you. That's wonderful.
So
Like
I'm counting them personal experience as Christmas treats or holiday
I would
treats.
put in like for like I'm thinking of some of the stuff like butter tarts would be like S tier for me, but I'm like I eat those bad boys
Sure.
for dessert with my family at
Sure.
many times of the year and stuff like that. So I'm like I don't know, I don't consider it like a Christmas dessert, but I'm also not a huge Nanaimo bar guy. They're
That's
a little
absurd.
bit too like they're a little too rich for me. I don't know.
That's absurd.
But I've
That's an
also
absurd
gotten
take.
it's actually like depressing how much I've gotten to that stage. I remember when I was a kid and people would be like, I can't, that's too much for me. Like only a little bit of ice cream, only a little bit of this. I remember being like 8 and I'm like, I will eat this until I throw up. And I've actually gotten to the age now, unfortunately, where it's like things can be a little bit too rich, a little bit too much, you know? Okay, all right. You need to stop playing. The one comment that dunks on me.
I was waiting for someone. Thank you. Thank you, Wesley. Oh, thank you. Thank you. Nanaimo bars are so good. They are elite.
Will not yuck your yum, Connor. This is a perfect context for me to use our favorite saying.
Yeah.
Like I think that I'm not saying that I think they're objectively bad or anything, but like I just was shocked to see it as your number 2. So that's why I thought your 2 and 4 were interesting to me. But
Okay.
Peppermint bark banger, after
Peppermint
eight
bark,
banger,
fire.
pumpkin pie banger. Like love.
I'm
it
a
all.
big. I love the peppermint. Love the mint.
You seem
chocolate.
to like the like spices, like a little bit more of a like the
Sure.
anise flavor, the like a little bit.
Yeah.
These are all.
See, like I
other
don't
than the
usually
top-
think
Yeah.
when going for these things. I'm just like, yeah.
I'm gonna cut that. I'm gonna clip that right here. I don't really think.
I don't usually think. Yeah. Welcome to WST Sunday Live. Follow for more.
Yeah.
The peppermint bark, yeah, is number 1. Like I don't have it as much as I have Nanaimo bars and after 8s and all those things, but
Fair enough.
it's amazing.
But hits every time, yeah.
Hits every time. And after 8s, I have a take list. You know how they come in that little like box, and they're all individually wrapped.
Individually
with the paper.
wrapped, yeah.
The paper is an underrated MVP because without the paper, I would delete probably an entire box of after 8s in one sitting. But the paper makes you think. It makes you, oh, I have to take it out and then eat. And then where do you put the paper? The paper starts piling up around you if you're just like watching hockey. And I'm just chucking paper, like these after 8 papers all over the place. And I'm like, I'm making a mess. I need to stop eating these. But if there weren't any paper, I would just run through the entire, because they're so small and thin. It's just like potato chips. It just rip through those things.
Good take. Yeah. No, anytime you have to unwrap something a little bit, it kind of makes you feel like a glutton. You're like, oh my gosh.
I know the
here
paper.
we go again.
I'm like, whoa! I need to slow down.
Come on, man.
Yeah. I know the paper needs to. The paper has never slowed me down, Rob Mahoney. I love it. That's what the holidays are for. Don't let the paper slow you down. No, the paper is an underrated MVP for me. But yeah, this is our Chud's Powersports Survival Poll. Wanted to have a little bit of fun with it. Go away from hockey as we are heading into the holiday season. And yes, a happy holidays and a Merry Christmas.
We have to go back to it. So
yeah. We'll have to go back to it next year and update our power poll.
No, I said now we have to go back to hockey because
we have to go back to hockey. Yes, trending up, down, and burning questions coming up.
We had a nice, wonderful.
Oh yes.
Oh man.
Kevin Soldier asked, "What about drinks?" Okay, wait. We're not going to do a top 5, but thoughts on eggnog?
Not for me.
Not for you. Wow. Another bad take.
I actually haven't had it
Another
in a
bad
really,
take.
really long time though.
Another bad take.
But yeah, I need to. But do you know what Connor's top drink is, guys? Candy cane hot chocolate.
Fire. Absolutely fire. Absolutely fire. And yes, eggnog, 100%. Peppermint mocha, I see. Yep. In.
Yes,
I'm in for
Connor does like a
all
peppermint
of it,
mocha.
All of it.
Yeah.
In. No, but eggnog, you get a little bit of cinnamon. You know, I guess I'll just say fireball in there. Ooh, that goes down easy at the Hrabchak Christmas party. I will say that for sure. Yeah, everyone in chat saying spiced rum with eggnog. Yeah.
Okay, maybe I have to try some egg. I don't honestly. I probably haven't had eggnog since I was like a kid. I'm such a I tried it once and I don't like it and I just don't go back. And every single thing that I've tried in the last 5 years, I'm like, this actually isn't that bad.
It's good. Eggnog with a little bit of extra in there. Try it out.
Okay.
Your life will never be the same.
We'll see.
It's holiday season, folks. And we'll maybe have to do top 5 drinks, I don't know, next year with our holiday episode. But that's going to do it for our Chud's Powersports Power Poll. Shout out to Chud's for sponsoring our power polls here on Winnipeg Sports Talk. And as ridiculous as they might be for still sponsoring our power polls here on Winnipeg Sports Talk Sunday Live, even when we dip into holiday treats. And like I said, happy holidays and Merry Christmas from all of us here at Winnipeg Sports Talk to you, everyone that was at the Wednesday BP watch party, and everyone who's watching the Winnipeg Jets game tonight. Let's get to our next segment. This one won't be nearly as fun, I don't think, but it's trending up down. And this is the part of the show where you and I pick one Winnipeg Jet player who is trending up or down over the past week of play. And we usually don't pick players who we took last week. I can pull that up while you make your pick in terms of who we took last week.
I always got it here. I follow Hellebuck, Fleury, and Comrie.
Okay, so those players for us are off the board. For people in chat, not off the board. Let us know in the chat down below. Who are you taking for trending up, trending down? One Winnipeg Jets player you thought has played good or bad over the past week of play. Lyss, who do you got for trending up?
I'm going to go with a player that I have been so kind to and so wonderful to for the last 10 years. Logan Stanley gets my trending up pick this week. You know what? I think that there's a lot of stuff that, with that player that you were going to take him.
I was going to take him. Yeah.
That's my bad.
No, that's
fine.
fine.
I'm so sorry. You asked me first.
Dude, this is our show. You're good.
This is our show, and I always get to go first. I always have the easiest route. I go first for both. Yeah. But I'll pick Logan Stanley because I think that he's been a bright spot for a lot of Jets fans, and I think that that's, something that people are allowed to hang their hat on, and so I think that's a popular take in the chat.
Logan, Bobby, or Stanley. Yeah, I mean, he's just... I will say, like we've said many times on post-game reactions this year, it's very clear that he's just he has this newfound confidence, Lyss, where he's just trying things that he just wouldn't before with the puck. And yes, go for it. Absolutely. Like, play into those instincts, play into that skill, play into whatever. Shoot the puck a lot.
People, for sure, yeah. There are a lot of people that are like, oh, he's still bad defensively and everything. Yes, don't get me wrong. And this is going to sound like aggressively awful, but before he was bad defensively and offensively. So you know what? If one of them is going to improve, be my guest. If he's going to play in the lineup, I'd love to see one of those things improve. And it is right now. It's not like in light of this offensive explosion that his defensive metrics have gotten worse. So sure. Let's do it. Let's have some fun.
Let's score some goals. And yeah, the confidence is there for Logan Stanley. I love the fact that he's shooting the puck a ton. And Lyss, I know his defensive metrics might not be, miles better. He's not like a shutdown defenseman all of a sudden, but he is. One of the things that I mentioned for years with Logan Stanley is he needs to use his body. He needs to act like he's 6'7", actually put some guys through the boards. Okay. Yeah, we're just going to stop the stream right here, folks. You can clip me saying, I don't think. I'll clip that. No, but he, I was saying for years, needs to use his body, needs to put some guys through the boards, act your size, if you will. And he's absolutely been doing that. Credit where credit is due. He caught Nathan McKinnon with a huge hit, Martin Necas as well. The St. Louis game, the last one, or the penalty at the end wasn't great. But again, there were hits in that game where he was laying some big hits right at the blue line. He's been doing that for weeks now too. So really liking what I'm seeing from Logan Stanley in both the goal scoring department and the big hits. Which I think a lot of fans wanted to see on both fronts for that player. I'm going to take Morgan Barron. Jumped on a nice loose puck for a shorthanded goal against the Colorado Avalanche. That was his 6th goal of the season. And there are just so many plays throughout a game where maybe the Jets will be ineffective or just kind of there for 4 to 5 minutes at a time. I was going to say 6 to 7 minutes, but I don't want Lyss to take over the show again.
To hit you with it again.
Yeah. And then Morgan Barron will just make something happen. He'll go and have a great forecheck. He'll show that effort. He'll have a great back check. The Ottawa game, which counts under this trending up down segment, Logan Stanley's goal, if you go back and watch, Barron tracks back the length of the ice from below Ottawa's goal line, not the length of the ice, from below Ottawa's goal line, basically to the red line or to Ottawa's blue line, just tracks back on Dylan Cousins, hits him into the board, separates man from puck, gets it over to Gabe Vilardi, who passes it to Stanley and scores. And Barron, makes a great play on that one. So I've really liked what I've seen from Morgan Barron, both with the puck as he's scoring some goals, and he loves the backhand, loves going to the backhand on breakaways. But not only with the puck, but away from the puck. Like, this guy's an absolute horse, and he's forechecking like crazy, back checking like crazy. He is showing effort. He's got the speed. It pops out on this Winnipeg Jets team, the speed. So I'll take Morgan Barron for trending up. I think he's had a really strong week. Lyss, who you got for trending down?
I've been looking at our list. We have kind of a spreadsheet going that has all the guys who picked week over week. He's been safe for a few too many weeks, in my opinion. Hasn't been touched since the middle of November. Vlad Nemestikov is going to get my trending down pick for this week. I need to see a little bit more from that guy. I think that considering the position that he's in terms of continued usage and who his line mates are and whatnot, I'd like to see a little bit more energy, a little bit more sauce there. I think that, I spoke about this long ago, many minutes ago, earlier in this show, because, we've been going for a while here, but I was talking about how a lot of the offense and a lot of, the momentum of these lines for the Winnipeg Jets tends to flow through the center. So Vlad Nemestikov, for a period of time in the fall, was playing wing a little bit, but then he's been back to center for the last little while. And I'm not saying it's entirely a coincidence, because he had a fine season last year and he was a center. So I'm not saying he can't play center anymore, but if he's going to play center, need a little bit more from him, especially considering how much, the players that we talk about needing to see more from are guys like him and the types of guys that he plays with. So I'd really like to see him kind of get up and going. So he's my trending down. Haven't seen enough from him this week.
Okay. I'm going to take the obvious one. And I know it's your guy, so I didn't expect you to take him, because I wouldn't really ever take Dylan Sandberg. So to each their own. Cole Perfetti, trending down. Got the tap on the shoulder from Scott O'Neill in the third period against the Colorado Avalanche on the Nature's goal. Got beat kind of on the back check, and then took a bad penalty. Wasn't really generating much. So I actually thought he played decent against St. Louis. But again, like a lot of players in the bottom 9 for the Winnipeg Jets right now, Cole Perfetti is just far too inconsistent. Very much so still in on the player, still think that he can be a successful player. Like this, as early as this season, he can fight through whatever is ailing him with this high ankle sprain. And maybe he's taken a longer than he anticipated to come back from that. And I still think, there's moments where he makes strong plays, and what separates him at the NHL level is his brain and his passing ability and all those things. I'm just not seeing it at the level we saw last year. And then the whole Prick Fetty thing, where last year he kind of turned into a good board battle guy and was even hitting some guys at times. And I'm not saying Cole Perfetti has to go out and crush people, but just the play away from the puck. I talk about Morgan Barron playing well away from the puck. I'm not seeing the same from Cole Perfetti right now, and the production is not there with only 2 goals in his season so far. So I'm going to take Cole Perfetti for trending down, a player that I don't think we've given it to. We've given it to him actually.
We gave it to him 2 weeks ago.
2 weeks ago. Okay.
We couldn't give it to him last week because we took him the week before, and you took him again.
Yeah. Sign of the times.
Hater.
Sign of the times. Anyways, Cole Perfetti is my pick for trending down. Let's get to our next segment. That is the burning question segment. This is the part of the show where we open it up to the chat room with one burning question. This is the part of the show where the chat fires off as many questions as they can, and we try and rapid fire through as many as we can before we wrap today's show. So while you're here, drop your question in the chat down below, and let me go and find this comment really quick. Can't control life. Be like them. I liked y'all fun vibes. So like the show as well. Be like Can't Control Life. Really appreciate it. Hit the like button. Hit the subscribe. Hit the notification bell so you don't miss our show every single Sunday at 9 a.m. and Winnipeg Sports Talk Daily, Monday through Friday at 1 o'clock. Huss and Remo have you covered. This week is going to be a bit of a lighter week for sure, because there's a bit of a holiday going on this week if you haven't heard. So for some days, I don't think, Christmas Day, Boxing Day, Christmas Eve, I'm not sure on the plan. Tomorrow they'll have a show. Tuesday they'll have a show, and then Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, TBD. We will keep you posted on that on our socials at Sports Talk WPG. But Lyss, I had a one burning question.
Pull up Wesley, you got to pull up Wesley's question
from
a little bit higher up.
Okay.
How about the new Moose merch drop?
The new Moose merch drop. Fire.
Get out
Let me
of town.
bring up
the Moose
photo.
Finally, True North Shop finally dropped some
heat.
purple and green Moose merch. They've had the hats for a little
I know,
bit
I
with
have
that
the
old
hat.
logo because Connor has one. I know
around
that.
somewhere.
Like, so nice. I remember I went up to like, there were two guys at some random event that I was at in Gimli this summer on August long weekend. And I was like, where did you get that hat? And they're like, it's from Jets Gear. And I was like, what? I didn't even know that they had old purple and green Moose merch. But it was only hats. And they finally dropped beautiful photos of Isaac Phillips and Dom DiVincentis rock in the fits. Look at this. Pull it up. Come on. Get out of town. How insane is that kid? I have a couple of I planned an event once that we did a merch collab with FFO. And their kind of like signature is like having the words along the sleeves of the, like I'm wearing my Jets gear right now, of the sweater. So it has the Far From Ordinary on the sleeves, but like that purple sweater, come on. Is that not the nicest thing you've ever seen in your entire life?
It's sick. And I get why the Manitoba Moose are the colors that they are,
Of course.
I get it, but the purple's just so sick. And
I also think that like high key, this kind of adds to the scarcity of it, if that makes sense. Like, they go back to it, then it doesn't have the same like wow factor to it. And like, again, everything in the rink is blue. Everything from top to bottom is blue. It makes sense. Yeah. But at least kind of going back, and that hat is like a 3-tone. It kind of looks like the Tua beach ball hat, where it's like it's got the purple and the green and the brown. You can't really see in that photo. Look, maybe on Dom's you can see it a little bit better. The front of it is purple. You can see on the one side it's brown.
Oh yeah.
And then the other side is a different color. I think it might be green. I don't know if you could. Yeah, it is green.
Dom's. Yeah.
It's
Dom,
it's kind of cool.
Who was on WST this week. Everything coming up Dom DiVincentis right now.
There you go.
Yeah.
Look at that.
That is sick.
Stunning. It's stunning.
That is sick. I mean, they need to go back to the purple. Jets heritage, Moose purple, and start printing money. Bang.
Purple is underrepresented in the National Hockey League.
Agreed. I was kind of secretly, I have a soft spot for baby blue with the Mammoth, who they're taking on today, but I was secretly hoping that they would incorporate a little bit of purple in there when they made a new franchise and all of those things. But yeah, the Moose with an absolute...
We got to get back to our questions.
With
the questions. Yeah. My bad.
Bad. I have a question for you, and that is, did you know that 2 Winnipeg Jets players are representing their country at the World Junior Championships?
I did know that. I believe they are both Swedish, right?
Yes. Alphonse
Sasha Boumedienne.
And Sasha Boumedienne. Yes. So speaking of prospects, those are the 2 Winnipeg Jets representing their countries at the World Junior Hockey Championships. They're both playing for Sweden. And last night,
beating the no good prospects allegations when they're only 2.
Man. And and last night, Sweden beat Canada in a pre-tournament game 4-2. And in that game, Sweden had multiple power plays. Alphonse Frey's quarterbacking power play 1, Sasha Boumedienne quarterbacking power play 2. So if you want a little bit, obviously I think everyone's rooting for Canada and all those things, but when Sweden is playing and they get a power play, tune in, because good chance that that'll stick throughout the tournament unless their power play is super ineffective. But Alphonse Frey and Boumedienne, and I was really impressed with Boumedienne last night as well. Against some of those players, like he can really fly, he can really
absolute
skate.
Sicko mode to be on the first Saturday of the holidays and you're watching pre-tournament World Junior Hockey. But conversation for another day.
Here for the World Juniors, here for it, like just so locked in. And yeah, it's like Canada needs to win this year. they're so stacked, and the past 2 years have not been good with the Czechia losses in the quarterfinal both years. But man, big year upcoming for not only Canada looking to, Sweden is kind of in the same, not the same boat, but they're dominant in the round robin every single year. And then, choke in the medal rounds. That's kind of their thing. Right. Mm-hmm. So, just quickly before we get to some of these questions, I'm going way too long here, but Dallas Paul's with a very generous super chat. 1919, a little brown jug reference there, says, "Let's go Jets tonight. Keeping it simple." I absolutely love it. Big game against Utah Mammoth, Central Division, road game. We'll see if the Jets can get back on track and go into the break with a good feeling. How about that? Making it 16, 17, and 2 if they won tonight. But thank you so much, Dallas, for the super chat. Really appreciate it. You're here every single Sunday, and we very much appreciate your support. Let's get to some of these questions, Lyss. A lot of people are talking about the Moose swag.
Love it. Love it.
I know. One burning question: does a core player need to be traded to shake up this team? If so, which one? From Tom Hank.
Yeah, I think that it's really difficult with the situation the Jets have kind of put themselves in here, especially the answer last year would have been Kyle Connor, just in terms of the contract situation, all that sort of stuff. As it stands right now, I don't know what they do. I don't see a world in which it makes sense, though, to trade any of Morrissey, Scheifele, Connor, or Hellebuyck. Anyone else, I think, can and should be on the table for the right return in that sense, if you think it's going to shake it up and bring in something high leverage. But I don't think those four players are going anywhere for the foreseeable future.
Okay. Yeah, I'm with you on that 100%. Just don't see like a major shakeup happening, especially with how, the org views that they're win now mode. They're not going to trade Morrissey, Hellebuyck, whatever. All of those things right now, at least, or in the short term. Stoop asks, without significant improvement, does Arneal make it through the season, or do the Jets scapegoat him? This is an interesting one, Liz. If I'm not mistaken, Scott Arneal signed a 2-year contract, and this is the second year. So his contract is up after this year. I'm going to double check that while you answer the question.
Yeah, I'm going to lean on, yes, he makes it through the season, just based on our previous knowledge of how this management group handles coaches. I think that if this year is an absolute gong show through the next 50 games or however many are left in the season, I could see them parting ways with him quietly in the summer. I still don't think it's going to happen. I think this is a quote unquote, to use our own terminology, a their guy. They want this guy. Scott Arneal was not the only coach available, is not the per se best coach on the market, anything like that. This is the guy that the Winnipeg Jets wanted, and I don't see them changing that up. Especially because of, I'm getting all the connections to the team and the fact that he was an AC for a while, all this different stuff. I think that I think they're pretty committed to him.
And I think Scott Arneal's a good coach. I'll still ride with him, at least at this very moment, at 15, 17, and 2, at a low point. I still think that he's got, the players playing hard. We've talked a lot about that list. Like they have taken nights off this year, for sure. They have. But it's not to the point where some of these other teams at the basement of the league are. And I do still think that he's a good coach. And look, it's a valid question. I actually, while you were talking, I couldn't find, I don't think it was ever made.
I don't know if they ever, made it public or not.
I don't think it was. There was even a Sportsnet article done, didn't mention anything. Yeah, so I don't think that was made public. Bonus, signed 2-year deals each time, or 1 2-year deal, excuse me. He was only here 2 years. So I just assumed that it was a 2-year thing for Arneal as well. Again, don't know that for sure, but it's another thing. And like Cole Perfetti's contract is up this year, and there's there's 7 or so pending UFAs. So there's going to be a lot of questions as this season goes on if the Jets cannot turn it around. One burning question from Matthew Hyman: will the Jets ever split up Scheifele and Connor to at least see if it helps? I think this is a good question that a lot of people are wondering. I don't think it'll happen, and here's why. Prior to the Mark Scheifele goal against the Colorado Avalanche that made it 3-2, early-ish in the third period of that game, the Jets forwards had gone 8 periods without scoring a 5-on-5 goal or scoring a goal at all. I mean, Morgan Barron got the shorthanded goal, so I guess it was 7 periods, but a 5-on-5 goal, let's keep it. They went 8 periods, the Ottawa game, the St. Louis game, and the Colorado game. And then they didn't even score a 5-on-5 goal in the Colorado game either. So it's been 3 games now where they have not scored the forwards at 5-on-5. And the whole argument against splitting up Connor and Scheifele was, well, if you split them up, they're the only thing going. And then you might have nothing going. Well, at 5-on-5 right now, that line's getting, at least in the last 3 or 4 games, they're getting outshot, outchanced, all of these things, and they're not scoring at 5-on-5. So they're not going. Nobody is going right now. And they split up the top line. They put Velarde down with Perfetti, but I don't think we'll ever, we might, there's a lot of season left. But I just don't see them ever going to Connor Scheifele split, especially, for any longer than a game or two, Liz, at the most at this point,
Yeah, a game or two I think is a bit of a different scenario, but I guess I'll take the other side of it. Is I think that they will, just because I don't foresee this team getting that much better in the near future, and they've pretty much tried everything else up front, so they're going to be running out of options. So I think they're going to have to pretty soon, because right now I know a lot of people think that it's the thing to do and people are calling for it, whatever. It's fair, but they're doing other things. I think those other things aren't having the same results consistently that they're looking for, so they're going to have to keep doing stuff. So I think that they will at some point.
This is a great question from Kenny's water bottle. 1 week later, is Connor still fuming about the arena situation at the Olympics? Yes, never not fuming about stuff like this. And
never not fuming.
And to say this, our conversation with Gary Bettman and Bill Daly in Winnipeg a few weeks ago did not help my fuming situation here with the Olympic rink. Gary Bettman, I should find the transcript, and I'm not getting this 100% correct, but he said something along the lines of, in all of their Olympic events, when they've sent hockey players, all of these things, it has never been this late, this tight for building an arena. And then you see the Darren Dreger video. Did you see that? Of
I don't know if I did.
The pan of the arena.
Oh, yes, yeah.
Man. Like, it's
in rough shape.
It's in rough shape. Like I said a few weeks ago, Glenwood CC open for business. If we want to see, our Canadian athletes, ripping through a short neutral zone, Glenwood CC, wide open. I could even walk, over here to Allard Arena and see if they have some space, mid-February-ish. We can make it work here in Winnipeg, Liz. I don't know. There's a lot of good rinks, but yes, still fuming. Holiday spirit not taking me off of the real issue, and that is the Olympic ice being 3 feet short, and maybe not ready. Let me get to one more question here, and then we'll wrap today's show. One burning question from Chuck. Would you trade the first pick if it was top 10 protected? I think this is another good pick because good question, because a lot of people are saying you can't trade your first. I agree, you can't. But if it's top 10 protected, and, if that pick ends up in the top 10, the Jets keep it, is that something that you think the Jets would consider, Liz? And if you were Kevin Cheveldayoff, would you consider it?
So, again, I'm not fun because the answer is always yes, because who's it for? If it's for Mason Marchment, then no. But I definitely think that if there was a lane that the Jets thought that they could get better right now, bring in someone, like this is like a bad example, but like one of those Mason McTavish sort of situations where like this summer people were like, is he even going to sign? Who knows what's happening there? A young player who could be interested, like for something like that. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Maybe not if it's not top 10 protected, whatever, but I definitely would be open to it. But I think the risk with that is that there's so few players on the market right now that like that could be spent in a really, really bad way. Mm-hmm. But I think that it's definitely a lane that I think would make a lot of sense for the Jets, especially considering the fact that top 10 is fully within the realm of possibility.
I think it is a lane that would make sense for the Winnipeg Jets as well. You keep that security of like, okay, if this slide continues and we're not great, then we keep our first round pick and we're in the top 10 and all of those things. But if the player you bring in is an impact player and they help you and they get you to the playoffs and all of those things, then you're okay trading that first because it helped you turn your season around in a sense, right?
And I wouldn't for a rental, almost any rental.
No,
I wouldn't for a rental.
Yeah, no.
Yeah.
I'm not in on rentals anymore. I think we've been burned a few too many times. Tyson on the Olympics says, you guys haven't lived through this before. Olympics are always a pain in the ass. I think that's why I'm so angry about it, because I haven't lived through this before. I just haven't. Like they've gone to the Olympics before in my lifetime. Yes, but I was a child and didn't. Yeah. I was not keeping up with the the Darren Dreger videos of the rinks back in 2014 when they were in Sochi and all of those things. So who will be in charge of tournament discipline at the Olympics? So the refs are NHL refs calling double IHF rules. And then if there's like a bad hit or something, if there's a bad hit and they need supplemental discipline, I believe it's the NHL Department of Player Safety. So how about that? Hopefully they treat Canada like the Florida Panthers, and then they can just get away with murder. That would be awesome. Yeah, that would be really awesome. That's going to do it for one burning question. Thank you so much, everyone, for dropping all of your questions in the chat below. Really, really appreciate it. And thank you for hanging out with us on an extended edition. Liz and I always say, oh my God, how are
How
we
is
going
this
to...
like our longest one ever?
Lots to talk about, Liz. Lots of panic. Lots of panic. Big game today. Must win. Must win.
Can't lose.
Big game against... Can't lose. Yeah, can't lose to the Utah Mammoth. Gotta win. Gotta win. So, yeah, Jets take on the Mammoth today, Liz. Anything else you want to say before we wrap today's show? Maybe plug your newsletter coming out,
Yeah, no, I'm looking forward to couple weeks of we'll have a couple days off from hockey, which will be kind of nice, and then right back at it with some World Juniors kicking it off, and then back to some more Jets hockey that I'm going to be chomping at the bit to get back to it. But looking forward to a couple weeks of some family time, everything like that. And yes, my newsletter is coming out in just a couple weeks now, so if you guys want to subscribe, it's called No Right Answer. I can drop the link in the chat. Don't have it pulled up, so I might not do that today, but it's in all my bios and everything like that on any socials as well. But yeah, I'm just very, very thankful. I always get a little sentimental at this time of year because I'm so fortunate. I'm really close with my family, and I love spending time with them, and we spend a ton of time together over the holidays and all the time, and very reflective of how fortunate we are and how lucky we are with our family, everything like that. And I just feel so fortunate for everything that we do here, everything I get to do with you, Connor. It's such a fun time every time. So thankful for Huss and Remo as well, and for everyone here who makes this just the absolute best gig in the world. I would pay money to get to keep doing this with you and for everyone who's here. So I'm just very, very grateful always, but feel like we always get a little bit more thankful and introspective at this time of year.
Yes, absolutely. Very, very grateful for the Winnipeg Sports Talk community. It'll be next year's holiday party, and I'll still be shaking my fist at the clouds that I've missed last week's 1-0 loss to the St. Louis Blues. Genuinely, it looked like everyone had a great time. Kenny's water bottle show went long because we went on a detour about chocolates that lasted longer than anyone expected. Especially grateful for all of our fans that keep up with our weird detours about Christmas treats, holiday treats, all of those things. And yes, like Liz said, everyone have a great holiday. Really, really appreciate all the support from everyone throughout the season and throughout 2025. Stay safe over the holidays. Be responsible. Enjoy some family time, some time away from what's happening outside if you're heading out of the city or anything like that. And Merry Christmas to everyone. Really appreciate all of your support all season long on WST Sunday Live. And Liz and I will have our Team Canada projection coming out, or our roster, if you will, coming out in the next couple of days on the WST channel. Obviously, Winnipeg Sports Talk Daily every single day, 1 to 3, Monday to Friday. This week, a little bit shorter with the holidays, of course. But everyone have a great week. Enjoy your holiday season. Merry Christmas to everyone. And we'll catch you next Sunday breaking down Jets Wild after the Jets take on Quinn Hughes and the Minnesota Wild next Saturday. Enjoy the break, and we'll talk to you all next Sunday. Have a good one, everyone.